If you know something about Kakuzi PLC, then you will know that they are currently serving a ban from UK farms, Tesco. They can export avocados to them, and that has taken a big hit on Kakuzi PLC's operations right here in the country. And this is stemming from a complaint that was logged about human rights. Under that, 79 employees logged that complaint, and partly touching on a sexual misconduct of some of the bosses at Kakuzi PLC. So what did they do to try and address this? Let's listen in.
Felt it very important that to give the credibility and the transparency to what we were trying to do, we sought to find some very eminent individuals who would be able to act in an advisory capacity and receive information on Kakuzi's operational level grievance mechanism, on Kakuzi's human rights impact assessments, and then read those documents in conjunction with other information, and from that they could then advise the board to say, are our working practices, are our policies, are our procedures absolutely in line with world-class best practice.
Kakuzi is pioneering a very, very public accountability program, demonstrating its commitment to respecting human rights within its working environment and within its supply chain, so that it is not only responsible for its own conduct, but the conduct of the people with whom it works. We in the independent committee are meant to autonomously, away from the company, advise on the various policies and programs and review the various action points, so that Kakuzi remains at the leading edge of this accountability program.
Now, we just heard from a former Attorney General Githu Muigai, who was appointed by Kakuzi PLC to chair that newly created Human Rights Advisory Committee that was supposed to bring Kakuzi PLC up to terms with human rights reforms. Now, this morning, we start Business AM by letting you know that Tesco ban that started in 1st October 2020 still continues, despite Kakuzi PLC's optimism that indeed whatever they're doing in the back stages is going to open up that UK market. Now, we do know that Camellia PLC owns 50.7% of Kakuzi PLC. Now, Camellia PLC is a UK listed firm. Now, according to Leyday, which is a law firm, it stated that 79 Kenyans launched a lawsuit in the High Court in London. All right? Now, Kakuzi PLC and some of those reforms in terms of even appointing former Attorney General Githu Muigai to lead that newly created Human Rights Advisory Committee was supposed to help Kakuzi PLC accelerate human rights reforms to comply with international standards. But what we do know, that big UK market that is held by Tesco is still elusive to Kakuzi PLC as we start today. Now, let's look at exactly how the banks have performed in the first 6 months of 2021. And we're going to start from our total assets, then we cross over to performance indicators. And if we start from total assets, indeed, you're going to say that across the board, all the way from January 2021 to June 2021, everything is pointing northwards, and we're looking at it in terms of billions. So we could be talking around 56 billion as of June 2021. Fine, that's exactly where we are. And that tells you that exactly as from March all the way to June of 2021, that the banks have been performing good within the economy. Now we cross over to the key performance indicators for the bank, for selected performance indicators for the banking sector. Then you will see that indeed everything is pointing north, all the way from gross deposits, gross loans, and profit before tax. That is also increasing as well. Now, a report released by PwC, on behalf of KBA, is saying that if you look at the amount of taxes that the banking sector really contributed in the corporate sector, has dropped 24.1% last year from 27.9% in 2019. And PwC is alluding this to reduced profitability. And if you look at that total corporate tax that were paid in Kenya last year, then you will see exactly how banks accounted for 41.2 billion of the 170.5 billion. In 2019, they accounted for 52.3 billion of the total 175.9 billion. And they also put in this on the reduction of corporate tax, which we do know was dropped from 30% to 25% per year as well. For bigger margin, 25% from 30%, and VAT from 16% to 14% for the entire over 2020, just to cushion the economy from the effects of the coronavirus pandemic. And they're saying that these gross profits, they dropped to their lowest since 2012, because in 2020 we recorded them at 107.3 billion. Let's look at our figures in terms of sugar importation in the country, because there is seemingly something that's building up or brewing up between Uganda and Kenya. But let's look at those numbers this morning so we put that into proper perspective. Kenya, we do know, have a deficit of around 450 tons, that is 450,000 tons, metric tons of sugar. We have to import that year in, year out, so that we can support the local consumption. And you can see from 2015, that's when we that's when we produced the highest in the country at 631,957,000 metric tons. There, 2019, 2020, sorry, we did come in 459,972 metric tons to be exact. Now let's look at what we are bringing in terms of sugar production. You can see again in terms of the years and the months as well. You can see 2020 was on a low, and you can attribute that to a lot of facts in the country. Again, if you go back to around 2019, again around July, August, you'll find that's what we were producing the lowest, but that now has kept on increasing in 2020. Now let's look at where we are in terms of importation of sugar into the country. And you can see that all the way from 2015, that's what we were talking about, 247,000 metric tons. Our highest being in 2017, where we almost touched the 1 million mark. We brought in 989.6 metric tons, metric tons of sugar into the country. Now in 2019, we're 458.6, but we do know currently we run at a deficit of 450,000 metric tons. That is the annual import of sugar that we have to get into if indeed we are going to feed the local demand. Now, last year, Uganda and Kenya did agree that Kenya was supposed to import 90,000 metric tons from Uganda. But now, the Sugar Directorate in the country has directed importers to only get in 18,923 metric tons of sugar from Uganda. That is a very big deficit from what these two countries agreed last year. And Betty Maina, was the CAS for Trade, was actually part of that agreement. And they said that this was going to begin as soon as Kenya cleared the verification mission of Uganda. Now, the Trade Minister for Uganda, Frank Tumwebwaze, sorry, let me take that again. Franz Tumwebwaze, yes, said Thursday, and I quote, Uganda was not happy with those news from the Sugar Directorate in the country. And then he went on to say, maybe it is time, and that is quote unquote, we check on the quality and quantity of the margarine products that come from Kenya into the country. Meaning, they're not happy with that direction from the Sugar Directorate in the country. Now, according to Mwebaze Frank, he doesn't understand exactly what Kenya is looking into that, because he knows Kenya does need 450,000 metric tons of sugar annually to meet the local demand. So by saying they're not going to get these 90,000 metric tons that have been planned earlier, he's saying he doesn't understand this move from Kenya. Now, what we do know, Uganda produces 510,000 metric tons, with 360,000 consumed locally, with the rest of it going out for export. And to be exact, that is around 150,000 tons that has to come out of Uganda into the export market. Interesting. Now, let's look at exactly how the markets closed yesterday, because there's something that we have to look at today, and there's a very interesting stock that is Nairobi Business Ventures. We've had discussions here on a Business AM on exactly how they're trying to diversify their business. But now, if you go back to how they closed yesterday in terms of top gainers, can we jump into that data? You're going to see that again, Nairobi Business Ventures is sending this positive sentiment into the economy right now. They're top gainers as well. Yesterday as well, they were top gainers. The day before yesterday, they were again in this list for top gainers, because you can see exactly how they moved from 5.74 points as a previous trade into the current 6.3. That's how they're opening the markets today. So if you factor that in, that's a 9.76% change. They're also recording close to a change like this the day before yesterday. Now, what we do know is that they want to get into cement manufacturing. They also want to get into the airline business. Now, they're announcing some unprecedented ways that they're going to compensate the business advisors who are actually advising them on exactly how they're going to acquire these companies in cement manufacturing and airline business through a share swap deal. Now, they're announcing that the advisories, and these are the names of the advisories that are under that deal right now. That's MW and Company Advocates, LLP, the Cold Street Research and Analytics, and ABC Capital. Now, these three are going to be paid 6 million shares. In the current market, if you go by exactly what the share price movement for Nairobi Business Ventures has been, that is around 30 million shillings, which is equivalent to a 44% stake in the company. Now, they're doing something very unprecedented, because we do know business advisors are normally paid in cash. So if you go by what this is, 30 million, and you go exactly by how they closed their year at 32 million shillings in profit, then you will see exactly what they're trying to do. Not knock off that profitability that they're bringing in and actually reserve that cash. It's quite unprecedented, and some analysts are looking at it and saying, well, they have to do that if indeed they're going to preserve that cash. So we're going to see whether this is going to really take, because that is an equivalent of a 0.44% stake in the company. MBV wants to actually get into those as early as possible, because we do know that part of that deal is exactly what was agreed when FZE, a Dubai-based firm, acquired some part of Nairobi Business Ventures at a cost of 83 million shillings. We'll keep a close tabs on that stock, and when we have anything to report, we shall report it just like we're doing it this morning here on our Business AM. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiange. We are live online at Metropole TV KE across all your social media platforms. Thank you very much for choosing to begin your day with us here on a Metropole Television. We appreciate you. let's straight cross over to the newsroom.